I've had a few people point out now that the music in this game is very anime, and yes, it is very anime. It is very Japanese video game, and I like that about it. So, we're going to be introduced to a new mechanic down here, that being cards. Cards have a percentage chance of activating in combat and giving you a bonus. Some cards are as simple as, hey, your attack is increased, and some cards summon lightning down to blow your enemy away. There are attack type cards and defense type cards, and defense type cards only activate when your opponent activates an attack type card. I would not worry about the card system too much, it is largely unnecessary, but I guess it's a little bit of extra depth to the game mechanics. And now it's time for us to fight some Goborimon, or Goblimon, whichever the game decides it should be called. Ah, it's Goblimon this time. Sometimes it's Goborimon, sometimes it's Goblimon. You'll never know until it tells you. I find the most fun way to deal with groups of Goblimon is with the Rock and Roller, which is our third special attack that we activate with R1 and Circle. It's a little bit underwhelming compared to the other two special attacks, but the fact that it swings downward means that it's easy to catch enemies running toward us, especially if they're jumping toward us. Also, if you watch the show, Shoutmon uses the Rock and Roller on groups of enemies a lot. So, you know, I just find that it feels right. I find that it feels correct to be using the Rock and Roller in those situations. But the Goblimon are so easy to take down that just our regular square or circle attacks will do fine. They're much more difficult in larger numbers, but the numbers here are so small that even if you're really terrible at action games, this should not be a problem. And I mean, if you are terrible at action games, this would probably be a good game to get used to them. Teach you about spacing, range, and all that good stuff, and the variety of playable characters will help you adjust to multiple combat styles and how that can affect beat-em-up gameplay. But I'm already really good at beat-em-ups. At least I like to consider myself good at beat-em-ups, so for me, personally, it's not a big problem. I do think this game is suitable for all ages, even if it gets a little difficult toward the end. Okay, maybe not all ages, but like 5 and up. Let's say that. Now, we're about to encounter another big enemy type, just like the Apemon in the previous level. This one is Tortomon. I'm sorry, I guess I forgot we have to destroy all these Goblimon first, but I promise after these Goblimon, there's a Tortomon. I promise. Okay, after these Goblimon, there's a Tortomon. I promise. I swear he's here, okay? He's in this area. Right here. I know he is. There he is. So, Tortomon are actually really cool to fight, but because we have our Digivolution handy, and we can use that against regular enemies, we're just going to use our Digivolution to kill the Tortomon even faster than we normally would. And thus we can avoid his design entirely. But don't worry, there's one encounter late in the game where the Tortomon get to shine at their fullest. So you'll see that when we come to it. But that's it for the first factory stage. So we're going to open that chest and go fight Dorulumon. Not to be confused with Dorumon. I do appreciate that Pro put the effort into making these adventure beat-em-up sections instead of just making it a series of battles, because the boss battles are honestly the easiest part of the game. Unless you're playing as Vmon, then the boss battles are the hardest part of the game, because Vmon's kind of bad to play with. But let's not talk about that, let's fight Dorulumon. Alright, cool, so just deal more damage than Dorulumon. It's that simple. I mean, this means that if you want to, you can just kind of smack him a couple times and run away for the rest of the match. That's a valid strategy if you feel like doing that. I don't feel like doing that, but if you wanted to, yeah. You could just hit him a couple times and then run away for the rest of the match. So, aside from this fight, what's special about this level? Well, there are conveyor belts that drop you down a hole, and if you fall down the hole, you get dizzy very briefly. There's also a wind thing. There's also a wind machine that helps push you down the hole if you're having trouble falling in there. And you should have trouble falling in there, because the hole is very tiny and easy to avoid. The hole is such an easy hazard to avoid, it may as well not be there, and the effects of the wind are so small that the wind may as well not be there either. That being said, the computer is dumb enough to fall into the hole, which is kind of fun, but the slight elevation difference is more difficult than the actual hole, as far as stage hazards go. I mean, to be fair to the game, I'm going to make all the boss fights look easy, but we're playing as a character that I already know how to play with, and who is very good for the boss fights he's given in the game. Like, the matchups he gets are very favorable. So what about Darulumon's moveset? Well, I can tell you the AI really sucks at using Darulumon's moveset, apparently, because they're not using any of Darulumon's many projectiles, which would be incredibly advantageous in this situation. But I guess the AI just doesn't feel like using the projectiles or something. I really love the name of some of these attacks. By the way, that combo we did right there is called Man of Fire Straight, which is not a canon attack name at all. They made it up specifically for this game. But that just sounds so dorky and cool to me. Man of Fire Straight. That's just really awesome. Anyway, yeah, this fight is a foregone conclusion. It's really satisfying to use all of Shoutmon's various combos because I like the sound effects and I like the animations, but this fight is not exactly what I'd call challenging. I also would not call most of the boss battles challenging, for that matter. For most of the characters, anyway. It really depends on whether you're playing with Vmon. This game does keep up the environmental variety, by the way, so even though there are a couple of stages in each setting, there are a lot of settings, and they're all very, very different from one another visually. Not mechanically, but visually, for sure. So gonna be honest, this stage not super memorable, probably the least memorable stage. It's the second part of a factory level. It does have a new hazard in it, in the form of those pistons which will squash us and deal damage, but I mean, the factory aesthetic really was only good enough to last one level, I think. Not that it's bad or anything like that, it's just a bit generic. This is an optional pathway, by the way. There are some optional pathways here and there, but if you're, like, paying attention at all, you'll be able to discover them on your first playthrough. It's not like, you know, this game is non-linear in any realistic fashion. Sometimes there are hidden chests, but they're all in very obvious spots. Sometimes there are more enemies to fight, though, and you don't get anything for fighting the enemies, I guess, but fighting the enemies is fun. So I like doing it. kind of why I'm playing the game, because I think fighting things is fun. That's why I'm here. Hello, I'm Playable Passion, and I like games where you hit things. And I especially like that you can hit things with Shoutmon in this game. More games need to let you play as Shoutmon. Oh no, it's Cyclone. He has one eye. This guy's kind of cool. His laser mouth beam thing deals a whole lot of damage and can and will hit you multiple times. He also turns on a dime, so you want to hit him a couple times and then quickly move out of the way. He's one of the fastest moving enemies, but he's very underutilized, sadly. You know, if I had this game as a kid, it would probably have been my favorite Digimon game. By the way, you can only equip cards that are compatible with the type of Digimon you're using, and you can buy additional cards in the shop in the main menu or whatever. The cards don't do a lot, so I wouldn't worry about it. Anyway, yeah, if I had this game as a kid, it would probably have been my favorite Digimon game, but I still like it. Alright, so this battle type is a bit weirder. How this works is that we have time bombs on our back, and the time bombs slowly count down until they explode and destroy us. Guillemon down there seems to be having some trouble. The AI in this game is not fantastic. As I was saying, we have time bombs on our back, and the time bombs slowly count down, and eventually they blow up and destroy us, taking a life. But the time bombs count down faster the more damage you take. So if you deal damage to your opponent, their time bomb will count down faster, and he's about to get run over by a train. But if your opponent deals damage to you, your time bomb will count down faster. And that's all there is to it, but it's still kind of weird. The variety in combat modes is obviously meant to be, like, for multiplayer. Like, you're supposed to have a fun time playing with other people in multiplayer. And the multiplayer is alright, sure. I haven't had a terrible time playing multiplayer. It's fun playing against another human and discovering the various strengths and weaknesses of all the characters. I don't think health, like getting health pickups like this, makes your time bomb count down slower, by the way. I don't think it does that. I mean, this probably isn't my favorite of the game modes by a long stretch. I just kind of like the ones where who hits each other better is what determines it. The game's combat system is robust enough that it doesn't really need to rely on gimmicks like this, but I guess it adds variety to the main story mode because the AI is kind of dumb, so it needs that variety to supplement the dumb AI. So the beeping sound on this map, the sound that lets you know when the train is coming, that sound, I know it's very common, but it's also the exact sound my brother's alarm clock has, and it's a little weird hearing that in this game when I also hear it every day in real life. A lot of the sound effects in this game are kind of generic, but also it's very obvious that they didn't have a lot of budget to work with. I think that's incredibly obvious, so, you know, not gonna beat him up about that. I'm gonna beat him up a Digimon instead, because that's what you're here for, is for me to beat him up a Digimon. Well, that could have gone better, but we still won, and that's what counts in the end.